And one question that I think a number of people will have for you, Michael, is to know how long it takes to set up SMART so that it is actually running by itself. So you mentioned that the organization that is providing the support might be needed in the first 1 to 2 years or 3 years. But in your experience in the Russian Far East, you showed us slides where SMART has been running for 7 or 8 years. Is that enough time to be self-sufficient, where the site is able to handle all the processes from data collection to data management through to reporting and feedback to the rangers?
Well, not always. I would say that if there are really smart people at the site and they're really interested in it, and they take pride in their work, then sometimes something like a year is already enough to reach a situation where everything is done well, the report quality is good, there's debriefing, and everything would continue without our support and maybe even improve. But in general, that is not the case. We have situations where after 7 years, we still have to assist with conducting feedback meetings and producing patrol reports, for instance. That is also because we usually take the initiative. We approach a protected area and ask them if they're interested in working with SMART. And we offer them patrol support and also in many cases a bonus system. So they say yes because we have these nice things to offer to them. But that sometimes means that they just say yes because we provide these bonuses and this patrol support. And then you get into a situation where you do have a sometimes really substantial positive effect on patrol quality, but you end up with a situation where the whole system continues to depend on WCS. I would say of the 7 sites where we work at the moment, 7 protected areas, 1 agency, so 8 organizations basically. 4 of them would probably continue SMART if we wouldn't be involved at all, and 4 of them, it will either quickly the next day or slowly collapse.
Thanks very much, Michael. That's very clear. And I'm going to read some questions from the chat here for you, Michael. First of all, from Atai, he would like to ask, should data on achievements made by ranger groups be shared with the ranger groups?
Should the achievements of ranger groups be shared with the ranger groups? Yeah.
Yes, so that's the question.
Yeah, obviously that is what periodic reports are all about. It is mainly, there is some information about the whole protected area and some information at the level of individual inspectors, but in our reports, the focus is on the team efforts and results. And of course, you should communicate that with the teams so that they should know if they met their targets. They should also know if they do a better job or a worse job than other teams. And you should create something like a small element of competition between the teams. And you can only achieve all of that if they obviously know, if they get those reports. Not only get a copy of the reports, but get it presented to them in a way that that ensures that they really understand their performance in the previous period and understand what they can do better and what they have to do better.
Thanks, Michael. From Mohammed Ahmed Baig, can a ranger in the field put information into SMART which he is not observing directly by himself? So maybe I can answer that one, and maybe Michael, you can add to my answer. Yeah, so The idea behind the smart application, the smart mobile application, is that you need to actually be in the field with the device operating to be able to record observations. So your observations of threats or your observations of wildlife are recorded in smart mobile on a handheld device. And you have to actually be recording those waypoints in the track logs for that process of data to be coming in through that system. Now, of course, rangers could be staying at home, or they could be sleeping under a tree, and putting data forward through other means by sending a GPS out with their friend, or sending out data sheets with a friend. But the idea behind the smart mobile application is that you actually have to have the ranger using the device for data to be coming in. And of course, you can check the quality of the data that's coming in. And in the smart software, there is a tool called Quality Assurance, which allows you to check the track logs and check the waypoints to make sure that they're in the right place, given where the ranger said he or she was going to. So using the smart mobile application and using the quality assurance filtering process, and just having an observant data manager, a person that is really looking at the data and critically evaluating the data as it comes in, and a manager that cares about having good data, those things will filter out any data that might be coming in through rangers being not honest about what they're doing. And thanks for that question. Michael, do you have anything to add to that? Michael, in your experience, have you encountered rangers who do fake patrols or create data that is not accurate?
Obviously, you don't always find out, but in one instance, we did find out that rangers asked friends that were going into the forest to take their phone with them and switch it on and return it to them after their hunting trip or whatever. So yeah, it did happen. Yeah.
Okay, one question from Justine. How do you communicate that increase in records of illegal activity is okay, as that may mean more effective patrols? So what she's asking is the chart that you showed us where patrol results were showing a decline in poaching. How do you interpret those graphs? And I guess conversely, the effort was going up too in land of the leopard.
That's a question that is discussed a lot among conservationists. When your results go down, what does it mean? And that you have the violations under control, or that the violators became more experienced in avoiding detection, avoiding the patrol teams, or that the patrol teams over time just became lazy and if they do less, that will show in SMART. But maybe you can visit an area and still not have your eyes opened, etc. I think if there's in the beginning a real big increase of results when you just start SMART, because you have result data from before SMART. You don't have effort data, but you have result data. So that's the first indicator that things are good. If in the first year or first 2 years, maybe even 3, that's the level of results, citations and confiscations, etc., is higher than before SMART started. And then if you see it reducing after that, while patrol quality and volume continues to go up, I think if that's both trends are really substantial, I think it's safe to conclude that not all of that is because the violators, the poachers became better at staying undetected. At least some of that is then also safe to conclude that is also the result of the fact that they started to poach less in the protected area. Whether you achieve that depends not only on the quality of your management and the quality of your smart system, but also on the amount of rangers, the patrol fuel that you have available, all the resources that you have available, and the level of the threats. If it's really worthwhile and really bringing in big money, etc., to poach, you sometimes need to throw in a lot. That's a situation that's very often the case in Central Asia. In Russia, there's not so much big money involved. It's much of it is local villagers that just like hunting, and there are really good poaching opportunities outside the protected area. So in a situation like that, it's usually feasible to get it under control when you use the resources, the patrol resources that the protected areas have available.
One question I had for you, Michael, and this relates to a question that Suhail has mentioned in the chat, is the commitment of the manager. And you mentioned that it really is important to have a manager that cares, who wants to make change, because SMART is a tool for making change. So in your experience, for example, in the Russian Far East, did you see that SMART actually worked well for some managers, and they changed their tune? Because I remember you mentioning that some managers were very hesitant or suspicious of SMART, but with time and with results coming in that made things look like they were improving, the managers got interested, and change actually happened organically, and things started to improve.
Yeah, well, usually because we take the initiative, we contact the protected area and ask them if they would allow us to introduce SMART. This is probably not a typical situation. And we provide a carrot, which is financing for ranger awards and for patrol financing, patrol support. So usually the directors then say yes, but that then doesn't really mean that they are really keen to have this SMART as a real functioning management system and to get really well involved in that. So I would say in half of the cases their involvement is good, and they really catch on to it and start leading doing the assessments of the patrol quality, leading the patrol meetings and setting effective patrol targets and checking if the rangers meet them. In the other half of the situation, 50%, that's not the case. And we even had situations where both the protection manager and the director were not active at all during the feedback meetings. We had to conduct that, basically WCS staff. Even the director didn't participate in the meetings. He welcomed us, and then he went to his office and said, "I'm busy." And the protection manager, we couldn't engage him in the situation. He just sat in the back and didn't say a word. We couldn't simply not change that. But even in a situation like that, if you have a bonus system and you can engage, you set then the targets. Basically, we took over the management at a certain level. And we made it worthwhile for the ranger teams to meet those targets, and they start doing that. So that was basically the protected area that I showed in the last slide. In the first 3 years, we had lousy management, but really good SMART results, basically. So yeah, but that means that you need money, and you need to do it yourself. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, then of course you won't be successful. So it's not an optimal situation, but sometimes in bad situations you can still have some results. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. That was a great response. And what I'd like to do now, because we're coming up on the end of the second hour, we've actually been online for 2 hours now. I'd like to ask if there are any final questions. Please write to Michael, and Michael can be contacted at the address that I've typed in the chat at the bottom. And what I will do now is hand back to Justine to provide some closing remarks and finish off our seminar. Justine?
Thank you.
I think she might have even disappeared.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, there she is.
Sorry, Bluetooth took over as it does and connected. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Michael and Tony for bringing this together and giving real practical tools on how to get started. I think I know that our teams will be going back to the recordings as needed, and we will share the recordings with everyone here for those that didn't miss it, so you can go back when you are setting up and look at the notes Michael shared. So thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Great, thanks, Justine. Thank you, Michael.
Next
And
week.
next week, we're going to learn about how to collect data. We're going to talk about smart mobile, and we're going to learn about how to use smart mobile with rugged devices, with smartphones, with tablets, and how we actually go about collecting data. And we'll also learn about some of the efforts that are being made in different countries, such as Mongolia, where we have rangers out there collecting data. And so we're going to have a presentation from our colleagues in the WCS Mongolia program who are working out there in the Small Gobi. And so we hope that you'll be able to join us for that session, which will be the same time next Thursday. And we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a great week, everybody, and take care. Stay well.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.